So maybe we can begin with your background and how you came to study meditation.
Well, I became fascinated with Asian culture when I was in my early teens in Los Angeles, where I was born, at a time when in North America, those kinds of interests were uncommon, unless maybe you happen to be Asian or Asian American. But for whatever reason, I got fascinated with the languages and cultures of East Asia. I attended Japanese ethnic school. I had a private tutor for Mandarin, Chinese, and another private tutor for Sanskrit. All of this before I was out of high school. Of course, I did really poorly in high school, but I had some unusual self-motivated academic interests. So I wanted to know what there was to know about that world, know everything, and maybe I'd like to become a samurai or something. I was a kid, I had fantasies about Asia. Of course, the reality of Asia, they don't exactly have samurai anymore, but eventually I did go to Asia, encounter the reality as opposed to the movie fantasy, found that to be pretty cool. And one of the things that I encountered on that first trip, I was just 20 years old, 20 something at the time, I encountered real life Buddhist meditators, just like in the movies, except they were human and you could talk to them. And they told me about these kinds of things. And I had a sense that they knew a secret that they would happily share with me, but they would never impose to me. Like a hand was reaching out. I could either take it or not, and we have a gift. We know a secret. So when I got back to the States, I was graduating from the university, and I was wanted to go to graduate school. And my favorite professor at UCLA said, well, you're good in Asian languages. Why not try Buddhist studies at the University of Wisconsin? They're giving PhDs with a specialty in Buddhism, and they have a strong language emphasis. So that led to an academic program, PhD course in with a specialty in Buddhist culture, but then of course that entails Buddhist meditation and so forth. And then I went from that academic interest to actually practicing. And then I didn't become an academic at that time. I went off and practiced and then became a teacher.
Right. I was reading in your book, The Science of Enlightenment, you kind of write about, going to Japan, trying to kind of receive, I guess, information about these traditions in an intellectual framework, but being kind of flat out refused and told you had to become a monk. Is that how it went out?
Well, they more or less said, this isn't for your intellectual curiosity. You're going to learn something, go back, write a thesis. This is a path of transformation. And if you're willing to allow yourself to be transformed, maybe we'll teach you. We'll see. Why don't you shave your head, live in the temple, do boring tasks, and be too hot and too cold for a couple years, and then we'll talk about me teaching you something. Fortunately, another monk taught me immediately how to meditate while I was doing all those banal temple tasks. So I don't know if someone one of the other monks, not the abbot, if he hadn't sort of grabbed me and said, hey, you know, you are learning how to meditate while you're raking the sand and washing the dishes. If someone hadn't taken me and said, you focus on the sight, sound, touch of raking the sand. You focus on the sight, sound, touch of washing the dishes. If they hadn't told me that, I don't think I would have ever caught on. I'd probably just have left. But I was just doing menial things, but in a focused state. And at some point, they started to teach me the more esoteric things that I was interested in academically.